Japan's new neocon, Western puppet Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is already ramping up tensions with China after threatening military intervention if China reunifies with Taiwan. This is an absolutely crazy statement to make because for years, Japanese prime ministers relied on strategic ambiguity on Taiwan in order to maintain stable relationships with China. Even other far-right Japanese prime ministers like Shinzo Abe didn't go as far as Takaichi is going right now. And Takaichi, the new current neocon puppet of the West, promised to cut Japanese social spending in order to boost military spending in Japan so they can prepare to confront China. This is not a sovereign country. How does ramping up tensions with China supposed to help the Japanese working class? It doesn't. Takaichi is just a good puppet whose comments did not go over well in China. Chinese officials have been furious since her comments, and they essentially said that Japan needs to be careful because if they pull up, they're gonna get wrecked. They was warning Japan not to make the same mistakes of the past. That's essentially a nice way of China saying, we're going to whoop your ass if you do anything stupid. Takaichi is persona non grata in China now. Chinese social media has been brutally mocking her ever since she made these comments. Now Japan is about to make a massive mistake in following the West into conflict with China. The new Japanese prime minister is essentially a female Zelensky.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, we are back once again. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. I was around this week. I was on Jimmy Dore earlier this week. I did a show with Jamal Thomas earlier today. Jamal been killing the game. I was on Revolutionary Change. Also was on the Homeless Left with my friend Matt and Pasta. Yeah, you know, your boy's been in the lab cooking. My boy been spreading the message around. But I got a lot to cover. We have the former lawyer for the president of Colombia joining us today, Dan Kovalik. We're going to be breaking down how the United States is losing the global majority in the war against Venezuela. But first, I have to get to Takaichi. I'm always in the lab cooking. We had a lot to cover. So let's get right to it. My friends. This is the Prime Minister of Japan, who we've been covering a lot because the conflict with Taiwan, the rise of China, and the United States trying to rally their vassal states to stop the rise of China is one of the biggest stories of the modern times. And when I saw this new prime minister selected, Japanese people didn't choose her. She was selected by the ruling class. And I knew, it's like one of those signs, like you can see exactly the direction the empire is going to go. And when I say empire, I mean the United States, because I cannot emphasize enough that Japan is a vassal state that has no sovereignty. So the United States wants Japan to help them with their war against China and help legitimize their claims over Taiwan, their false claim that Taiwan is an independent country outside of China. It has been the far-right Japanese ruling party. It's been their job to legitimize that claim among one of the most influential East Asian countries in the region. But you guys realize that the new prime minister now, this Margaret Thatcher wannabe, one day we're going to elect a female leader somewhere that is not an absolute psychopath. Well, I guess Mexico is the only one, like based as Claudia Sheinbaum, who is, by the way, one of the most popular world leaders, probably the most popular socialist leader, Claudia Sheinbaum. Her approval rating is near 80%. But outside of her, you have all these Ursula von der Leyen, Margaret Thatcher, cringe girl boss politicians. And this psychopath broke the longtime strategic ambiguity that Japan employed in order to provoke China. Strategic ambiguity is what the United States also deploy in Taiwan, because what normalized in Taiwan, China, what normalized our relationship with China was the United States' recognition of one China. NATO acknowledges one China. One China is a founding principle of current international world order, and I cannot emphasize that enough. It was one of the number one demands of China for the United States and the West to reestablish relations with them. So when you see the West, when you see Japan do everything they can to spread denial and doubt over China's claim to Taiwan, don't get it twisted. That is designed to poke the bear. That is designed to get China to turn hostile to the United States and Japan, so the neocon class can get the war that they want. So China has every reason to be upset at Takaichi. And if the people of Taiwan, like many of the working class are, if they were smart, they should be furious too, because the Taiwanese people was victims of Japanese imperialism. Look what this outrageous statement where Takaichi essentially said that if China unified with Taiwan, that could force a military response from Tokyo. That's an insane thing to say. So Taiwan unification with China, as stated by the Chinese government, is only a matter of time. It's going to happen. It is their right. Taiwan is essentially a province of China. Repeat after me. Taiwan is a province of China as recognized by international bodies all around the world, including NATO and the United States. So in order to get this war against China that the West won and they recruited the Japanese ruling class to promote, they try to separate China from their long-standing island that they have cultural ties to, that they know is a red flag. China, which claims a self-ruling island democracy as its territory. Look, this is NBC News. You see the framing? China, which claims the self-ruling island. No, international bodies acknowledge, and it is a fact, that Taiwan is a part of China. And if you don't acknowledge that, if you're a Yankee American and you like, man, I think that Taiwan should be free from China, okay, let's free Hawaii then. You guys realize that Taiwan is over 3 times closer, around 3 to 4 times closer to mainland China than Hawaii is to the United States? It takes like 12 hours to fly to Hawaii. So what legitimate claim do we have for Hawaii? There are famous Hawaiian activists like Alani K. Trust. There have been Hawaiian activists who've been calling for the liberation of Hawaii for decades. There's many indigenous Hawaiians who still don't acknowledge the United States government. So what would the United States do if China, Russia, Iran, any countries that we view as hostile, started funding and propping up separation organizations in Hawaii? This is a good point. Taiwanese constitution also says they are part of China. So remember, look at the map. Or look at a real map, because they tend to try to put Hawaii closer to the United States than what it is. Most of the neocons against China, most people are like, oh my God, hands off Taiwan, China. They can't even point out Taiwan on the map. It is right there. Like, it's right there. Right within China, obvious sphere of influence. An island that had ties to China going back centuries of history. that the West tries to erase, the same way they try to erase the history between the Russian and Ukrainian people, which is obvious because if you're that close to Russia and you're Ukraine, obviously they're going to have a long time cultural heritage. The same with Taiwan and China. The idea that people that are this close together, the idea that neocons want us to believe that they are culturally separate, have nothing to do with each other, that's absurd. Big shout out to our Ireland brother right here. Man, I tell you, if it wasn't for our international audience, we'd be cooked. I don't think I'm the flavor of the United States left. The United States left is obsessed with liberalism and Hassan Piker and following celebrity. Like, they obsessed with like celebrity streamers. I can't relate to these people in the United States left, apparently. So if it wasn't for like our international audience, we'd be cooked. I talk to Zoya with that all the time. Speaking of Zoya, Zoyas love Zoya's life. They want freedom, not rich white men raping their land and people. Very well said. So, Chinese social media, I loaded up Red Note. Red Note's been going, like, Chinese social media and the Japanese people are furious. Like, they already, like, if you talk to a Japanese political minded person, they are like quick. Like, Chinese people are quick to remind you of the war crimes that Japan committed against our people, and rightfully so. Like, whenever anything come up, you can be talking about international soccer, you can talk about the World Cup, and then a Chinese person like, hey, yo, by the way, you know what Japan did to us in World War II, bro? You could be watching football. You could be talking about anything in politics. You could be talking about Gaza. You're like, man, what's going on in Gaza is crazy. And a Chinese comrade, and I think rightfully so, would be like, yeah, man, Gaza's crazy. It kind of reminds me of what the Japanese people did to us in World War II. They bring it up all the time, and they should. Because if they don't bring it up all the time, the West will be happy to erase it. Because the number one victim of World War II, or probably one of the biggest victims, was the Chinese people who lost over 20 million people to the imperialist scum in Japan. That the Japanese ruling party still to this day refuse to apologize for. So people in China are already very critical of the country of Japan. Now you have this neocon prime minister who openly said that she wants to cut social spending so Japan can wage war on China. And so they know her history, so they watching her like a hawk as well. And they're going hard on her, and China had to let her know how they feel. Here, Chin, Japan Prime Minister Takaichi, an ultra-right winger and denier revisionist of Japan's brutal World War II history, should apologize and retract her previous remarks. Takaichi is an insane person. Like, these girl boss world leaders are completely insane. This is a headline I saw today. Japan's leader started a meeting at 3 a.m. in a society which famously struggles with work-life balance. I told you guys that Japan and South Korea, they're complete capitalist hellholes. Like, this is what happens when you have a strict anti-communist society. Like, anti-communism is what rotted and destroyed the American working class. Like, I'm no fan of capitalism, fam, but it's not just capitalism. And this was social democrats don't understand. Like, other countries have capitalism. Like, there's capitalism all over Europe. There's capitalism in the global south. But the reason why our working class is uniquely hollowed out, like we don't have healthcare, for example, that's anti-communism. The lack of work-life balance in Japan, the suicide epidemic, the mental health epidemic, that's way more than just the failures of capitalism. Anti-communism plays a gigantic part in the rot of these societies, like we see in the West. So she's taking backlash on it. Look, Sanai Takaichi drew criticisms for requiring staff to work in the wee hours in a country scarred by death from overwork. So Japan been going through this. They've been trying to culturally change. Meanwhile, here is this psychopath who is trying to take it upon her to promote the lack of work-life balance and overworking. So as Japanese Gen Z in a new Japanese culture, like, hey man, I think we need to scale back the working to death culture. Sanae Takaichi is like, man, fuck that woke shit. Fuck that gay woke ass shit about work-life balance. I don't sleep at all. This is her. This is the psychopath. This is the girl boss that even liberals were celebrating. She was bragging how she only sleeps for about 2 hours. 4 hours.
私も今睡眠時間はだいたい2時間から長い日で4時間です。はい。だからお肌にも悪いと思っております。私も
You see this sick coat? You see this sick coat that values nothing else? You're nothing else other than your raw production. And they think this is a flex. The campus class think that this unhealthy relationship to your work and having nothing else that values your life is some sort of flex. It's a sick ideology. This sick hustle grind culture that devalues human life. That's what she's actively promoting. And by the way, this is a complete delusion. This is complete capitalist fantasy. When you don't have full sleep, if your body does not hit REM mode, REM sleep, that affects your cognitive abilities. That affects your decision making. That affects the way your brain functions. So it's actually a long-term detriment to your health not to get sleep. But not only is it detriment to your health, it's a detriment to your performance. Maybe the fact that you are destroying your brain and destroying your cognitive abilities is why you're saying insane statements like Japan will go to war with China over Taiwan. Maybe if you wasn't sleep deprived, you wouldn't promote these insane neocon ideologies. And this capitalist brainwashing is absurd because your workers are going to be more productive with sleep. And we all studies show that if you have workers that is well rested, like these 10 to 12 hour work weeks are completely unnecessary. Most workers can get their work done in like 5 to 6 hours. Like they promote ideas that actually make work more ineffective. But it doesn't matter. It's a cult to them. It's a hustle and grind cult. And that matters more than anything else. So when this sleep-deprived demon, this broken brain, her brain doesn't even fucking work, bro. She got 2 hours of sleep thinking that she's smart. That's dumb. Like, if you want to be an effective world leader, you need to make sure you're at your best. You're a dummy if you're sleeping for 2 or 4 hours with such a big job. That's why you're making horrific decisions. That's why you are saying stuff that even previous Japanese prime ministers wasn't saying. In China, as I mentioned before, they wasn't taking this well. They have no reason to take this well. China, they essentially were like, bro, we don't want war, but if you guys keep talking that shit, man, if you guys threaten us over Taiwan, we're going to put you to bed, homie. China warned Japan of crushing defeat. Tell Chinese citizens to shun visits. Bro, China is mad, fam. Like, bro, they are big mad. And I want to warn Taiwan that they better not play along with this because the Taiwan president lost his damn mind with having APEC parties, claiming that Taiwan and China is not one state, one people. And I found it interesting because this is the Taiwanese social media influencers This is one of them
跟
here.
台湾人讲一个概念，你们都不了解中国大陆。
And he's not speaking English, but this person pretty much summed it up here. They explain that one of the worst things that Taiwan can do and try to ally with Japan. Bro, there is nothing that would rally the Chinese people more around crushing Taiwan than if Taiwan decides to side with their imperial oppressor like Japan. Look, this person says if it's Taiwan alone, the mainland probably has an 80% chance of not attacking. If Taiwan stands with Japan, I can guarantee you 10,000% chance that they will attack. Japan has slaughtered over 35 million Chinese. All the Chinese attach great importance to this period of history. So what this person is saying, and I'm sure this base rant I can't understand, he's explaining like, bro, if Taiwan goes along with Takaichi's insane proposal, her insanity, that's the quickest thing that would mark the doom of Taiwan. This is someone who is apparently on the Japanese quote unquote far left. Because I'll explain to you guys the dynamic of the far right political party ruling Japan for 75 years, because Japan is not a democracy. It is a colony of the United States, and the United States ensures that there's one party rule in Japan that serves their interest. But despite Takaichi's position, despite the position of the Japanese government, I have explained that my beef with Japan is not with the working class. You guys know that. I'm not shitting on Japanese people. I'm shitting on their boomers. I'm shitting on their ruling class. The same way that we're not represented by our sellout capitalist class, that is what happened in Japan. Because I explained how the Japanese ruling class, Takaichi, Shinzo Abe, they deny the war crimes that Japan committed against China. But many of the Japanese youth are actually very cognizant. They're very aware of the crimes of Imperial Japan, and they don't want to go back to that. Many youth in Japan apologize, and they say there's nothing wrong with apologizing for the war crimes our country committed during the imperial period. In the response of Senna Takaichi, just like with work-life balances, you guys can shut the fuck up with that woke nonsense. Oh, anyway, I posted in the RBN live stream. I always keep forgetting. I'm gonna end the RBN stream. Make sure you guys watch the rest of this on my Nick Cruse channel. Also on Twitch, X. I'm on Kick, on Rumble. Just trying to spread love to other platforms. So I'm gonna end the RBN stream now. I want to show you this video because this is a beige Japanese younger politician calling out Takaichi. This is a Japanese legislator calling out how Japan is an occupied country. So this is a great clip here. Let's play this.
主権国家なわけないじゃないですか。植民地なんですよ。残念ながら今の日本は植民地。私はそう考えています。大臣はこの国は植民地だと思われますか？
主権国家でございます。
ありがとうございます。もちろん主権国家という体をしていますけれども、思われますか？
主権国家でございます。
ありがとうございます。もちろん主権国家という体をしていますけれども、じゃあどうして北方領土帰ってこないんですかって話ですよ。どうして帰ってこないの？北方領土返した後にそこに米軍が置かれるということを懸念したロシア側が返さないわけでしょ。それに対して米軍に基地を置かせない、訓練区域、地域を広げさせないという約束を米軍にさせろっつって、日本側はそれはできないっつったんですよ。だから帰ってこないんですよ。自分の国の国土に対してそんなことさえもアメリカに言えないような国なんですから、主権国家なわけないじゃないですか。植民地なんですよ。どうしてアメリカ国内で許されていないような訓練が日本国内で可能になるんですか？超低空飛行、様々なことはどうして可能になるんですか？ 植民地だからですよ。
The new age of information made it so that no one's buying this propaganda nonsense anymore. Like, the Japanese youth knows they're an occupied country. They know they're a colony of the United States. And this person destroyed them. Destroyed Takaichi to her face. You want to know why? Because that press conference, remember, this is the tweet I had. And this tweet, look, I almost had 1 million impressions for this because this tweet I sent out went actually surprisingly viral on like Japanese Twitter. We covered this, 2 weeks ago on RBN? And there was like a ton of Japanese accounts reporting on this because this press conference was a big deal. We covered this when it happened. Now you have Takaichi threatening war with China over Taiwan. And now that's why you have young Japanese people like, man, are you a puppet of Donald Trump or what? I'm playing it for people who haven't seen it. This was a damning moment for Takaichi. You guys see how she's dancing like a good puppet?
Madam, in the history of Japan.
Look at the good puppet dancing for her master.
In the history of Japan. Madam Prime Minister.
So guys, look at the image here.
Sir, in the history of Japan.
You have a Japanese prime minister surrounded by United States soldiers on occupied Japan, jumping up and down like a cheerleader and a good puppet of her vassal state. So I wasn't the only one who noticed this. We wasn't the only one who did a segment on this because this tweet I sent went all around Japanese Twitter. Japan was like, bro, what is this? So just like our ruling class, you must understand that the ruling class in Japan, they are holding their working class hostage too. They're holding Gen Z Japanese people hostage too, because her policies of cutting social spending in order to promote war with China and bringing back the imperial military spending and military culture, that does not benefit the Japanese people at all. They know it. The United States knows it. She knows it too. And she's going to go down, based on what I've seen, because it seems like Japan is not going to change, she's going to go down as the next Zelensky, easily. So we have our guest here. I think that's a good update on Japan. It's very important to follow what's going on here, man, because Japan playing this role as the U.S. muscle in the East Asian region, whipping up support for hostile actions against China. Gonna be catastrophic for the world, man. It's gonna be completely catastrophic for the world. So I want to get our guests in here. We have the lawyer for the former Colombian president join us, professor, author, professor. We have Dan Kovalik. Hope I get that correctly.
You got it right. And by the way, very few people get it right the first time. So thank you. You got it right on the mark.
Fantastic, man. It's great to have you. It's great to have you join us tonight. I'm glad I got your name right. You do a lot of great coverage on geopolitics, and so there's a lot to discuss, a lot to talk about. I've been covering in detail like this aggression that the Trump administration, because they are obsessed with getting rid of Nicolas Maduro. They have failed policies of United States sanctions. This is one of the main things I want to pick your brain about. So I'm gonna have a hard shift. We're gonna shift from Japan to Venezuela for our next segment, because Dan, I love the work you do in explaining the role of United States foreign policy in that region. And Trump in his first term, and this was continued by Joe Biden, was a hardline posture toward Venezuela, escalated on sanctions. And United States sanctions is designed to turn the population against their leader. And they have failed to turn the Venezuelan people against Maduro, and being frustrated with their failed attempts. You're now seeing Trump like openly declaring the fact that they're just going to kill people without trial in the region. But so just to get started, I want your thoughts on Trump's posture in Venezuela and the reaction of many of the world leaders in the region. What are your thoughts on this new escalating policy? Just to get us started, once again, thank you for joining us, Dan Kovalik.
Well, first, thanks for having me. I've always wanted to be on this show, so I'm very happy to be here with you tonight.
I'm honored. Thank you.
And, I've been traveling to Venezuela, I guess now for about 15 years. I met Chavez in 2010. And what we're seeing with the Trump administration, I would say, is kind of back to the future. The U.S. has been meddling in Latin America, of course, for a long time. We can go back to 1823 and the Monroe Doctrine. But since World War II, most of the meddling, has been covert, right? Overthrow of governments through the CIA and proxies. Now, there have been some exceptions. The invasion of the Dominican Republic in 1965, the invasion of Panama in 1989, and the invasion of Grenada 1983. But again, these were exceptions to the rule. Most were covert. What Trump is doing now looks a lot more like what you saw at the early 20th century under presidents like Teddy Roosevelt, right? This is gunboat diplomacy, sending the U.S. Navy to actually attack and perhaps invade another country in the hemisphere. Seeing this in the 21st century is just mind-boggling. I think the whole region is surprised by this. Well,
Yeah.
aside from the U.S. and its lapdog Canada. But the rest of the region, I think, is pretty sickened by this, as am I. And I don't know what the game plan could possibly be. Because, first of all, you have 8 million Venezuelans who've joined popular militias, right?
That's wild.
Yeah, wild. In addition to the standing regular army they have. The U.S. doesn't have that kind of manpower, right? They don't have those kind of forces to take that on. So a ground invasion would be like Vietnam. It would look like that. So I'd be surprised if that happened. But what I think you're going to see is some kind of bombing of strategic sites, perhaps an attempt to assassinate Maduro. And all this is over oil. Let's just be very, very clear. Venezuela
It's not
is
about
not
the drugs.
What's that?
It's not about the drugs, you say?
It's not about the drugs, right? Venezuela is not a major supplier of drugs to the U.S. And let's face it, the main drug that's a problem in the U.S. right now is fentanyl, opioids. None of those are coming from Venezuela or Colombia, right? Those are coming from China through the Pacific. And so that's a pretext, right? The main goal, and when you hear other statements by Trump over the years, it's about oil, right? Venezuela has the largest known oil reserves in the world. And that is what Trump wants. And again, this is very old-timey, right? The U.S. has assassinated world leaders, of course, over the years, through the CIA, but they've always denied it. They've tried to cover it up. Now you hear, people in the U.S. government openly saying we should kill Maduro, right?
Yeah.
We have crossed the Rubicon here, and it's a very dangerous time.
Yeah, this is why I'm glad to have you on the show, because you have such a great way of breaking these things down. And one of the reasons why a lot of people are shocked is just how, as you mentioned, just how Donald Trump in the United States is just brazenly breaking international law. But that's why what Israel did in Gaza was so dangerous. And I said that very early on. Like, Israel, the genocide in Gaza was a complete revolt by the ruling class against the concept of international law. How many times you guys hear me say that? Especially during the early days of Gaza. And now we're seeing it in practice. So now that they broke the international system, where after Israel bombs a hospital, Dan, what does the international law mean anymore? Like, what does it matter if you bomb a boat after Israel gets away with bombing a hospital? But I think you want to chime in, Dan. Anything you want to add?
No, I mean, what you're saying is absolutely right. We crossed so many red lines in Gaza. And when I say we, I mean the U.S. government, the Israeli government. you know, as you say, you're bombing hospitals, schools, universities, mosques, churches, murdering children, women, pregnant women, destroying a fertility clinic with I think 4,000 embryos in it, engaging in mass rape, and that's what's happening with detainees, both men and women of Israel. Once you cross those red lines, a message is sent that, you know, the U.S. and its proxies will do anything at any time to anyone.
Yeah.
And we are seeing that. You know, we're seeing that with the blowing up of these boats in the Caribbean now, in the Pacific. They've killed well over 70 people, I think maybe 80 people by this point, claiming they are drug dealers. So first of all, there's little evidence that's true. At one point, Pete Hegseth even said he doesn't know who these people are. And Senator Rand Paul correctly said these are small boats that would have to refuel 20 times before getting to the U.S., right? So it's very unlikely they are truly trafficking drugs, at least to the U.S. But even aside from that, if you have people dealing in illicit drugs that you wish to stop, what you should do is through legal channels arrest those people, try them, convict them, and sentence them. And even if you sentence them in a state that has the death penalty, just trafficking in drugs is not a capital crime. They wouldn't be put to death. So this is completely illegal and immoral.
Yeah.
I was on the BBC last night and I compared it to, I said, look, if you can do this, you can go to a city like Chicago and say, I think that guy there is a drug dealer. I'm just going to shoot him in the head and murder him. We don't live in a world where that should be able to happen. But that is the message being sent here.
Yeah, and that just show how depraved the generation of the ruling class is. And don't get me wrong, and everyone know I don't engage in lesser to evilism at all. I think it's a morally bankrupt pursuit. But like the previous generations of the ruling class, they fucked each other up so bad after World War II. They got together afterwards and like, all right, guys, all right, that was pretty messed up. Let's come up with some rules. like we can't torture people no more. Like they came up with rules, you know what I mean? And now, like the new generation of the ruling class, they see the concessions that the ruling class made, like in terms of what they put down in law, and they look at it with disdain. Like, why will you hold yourself accountable to something called an international criminal court? That's why Donald Trump is putting massive sanctions on the criminal court. Why will you allow yourself to be lectured to by smaller countries? Like these are things like Pete Hegseth brings up all the time. Like if we want to murder people in Venezuela, that's exactly what we're going to do. It's a completely barbaric ideology that they're openly embracing. Compare that to Nicolas Maduro,
Right.
who is calling for peace. Like Nick Maduro, and it's one of the reasons why they went after him, was critical of the genocide in Israel as well. So critical of the Israeli state that he said he called for peace-loving Jewish people and other Semitic people to take up arms against the genocidal state of Israel. I don't know, that's probably one of the reasons why they're going after him, propping up Maria Machado, who praised war criminal Netanyahu. So just compare the opposition. You know what I mean? Compare the enemies of the United States. China, who hasn't launched any wars, any invasions, any conquests in decades, versus the United States that's engaged in genocides every decade. Like, every decade it involved in some nonsense. So this is Maduro. I'll play this. I want to get your reaction because why I titled this segment, why I titled this video, was how the world is coming together around Maduro. And when I talk about the world, I'm talking about the global majority. Like, right. Whenever you see BBC announce, I know you was on BBC, whenever they say the world is turning against Putin, for example, you guys are only talking about white European societies. Like, the global majority stands with Putin. The global majority stands with China. They stand with Maduro. All right, let me shut up. Let me play the video and I'll get your thoughts.
What is your message to the people of the United States, President?
To unite for the peace of the continent. No more endless wars, no more unjust wars, no more Libya, no more Afghanistan.
Do you have a message for President Trump?
My message is yes, peace. Yes, peace.
That's the evil tyrant that people like Zoran Mamdani want us to be afraid of. That's the authoritarian tyrant, according to Bernie Sanders and Zoran Mamdani. The guy who facing United States threat, he's calling for world peace. Dan, any thoughts?
No, I mean, that's a great clip you showed. And it's true. I mean, when you listen to like a Maduro or a Putin, right? Or, Lula da Silva in Brazil, these people talk about peace. Xi Jinping of China. The U.S. doesn't even talk about peace. They talk about war, of course.
Yeah.
You see, they've even renamed the Defense Department to the Department of War. The U.S. is war all the time. This is a country that was founded on war, on genocide, and has never been at peace since its founding. And to see someone like Maduro walking through the streets, you would never see a U.S. president amongst the people like this.
Exactly. Right? Exactly.
And when you go to, I've been to Venezuela a number of times, and I've been an election observer a number of times. And what really struck me, too, was that the pro-Maduro or pro-Chavez, because I went there during the Chavez years, rallies were poor people of color, African descendants, indigenous peoples. And then I would, again, as an election observer, we'd also go to the anti-Chavez, anti-Maduro rallies, and those were largely people with blonde hair, blue eyes of the wealthier class. It says everything, right? Exactly. And the Western media will never tell you those realities. And that's why Maduro and Chavez have been popular, because they represented the vast majority of the poor people in Venezuela.
Yep.
And the U.S. resents that. They resent the fact that they're trying to use oil for the benefit of the people, just like Mossadegh did in Iran in 1953. That's why the CIA had to overthrow him. So this, the more things change, the more they stay the same, I suppose. But this is why we need to defend Venezuela, right? Because they represent the defense of the poor. They represent defense of people of color, and they represent, socialism. And that is, for all those reasons, why the U.S. wants to destroy it. So I think this is a struggle I hope people will embrace.
Yeah, this is why I've been covering ever since I started as a citizen journalist a few years ago. There's always been something close to my heart. That's why people see I'll be like destroying these Venezuelan propagandists, because I've been studying this issue for years. I studied your guys' lives. And your points about Maduro, look how he's around his people. The point you made about him actually being around his people is a very powerful one. Meanwhile, our politicians can't even go outside without $1 million security details. You'll never see politicians like that. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, in fact, we just learned that people like Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, a number of other Trump leaders are now on military bases, right? They've left their homes.
I saw that.
Because they're afraid that people are going to come out with their pitchforks and their torches. And they should, by the way, they should be doing that. And again, then you look at a Maduro who walks amongst the people. I was just in Santa Marta, Colombia last weekend with President Petro. Same thing. I was shocked. When I went to see him, I entered a hotel. There was no metal detectors. There was very little security. And, you know, he was willing to see people, and, you know, you could go up to him, shake his hand, hug him, whatever. Again, you can't imagine a Western leader doing that.
And that's such a, I love that point, man. I love that point, Dan. It's a point that I make all the time because we live in an era of like, it's like the Victorian era ivory towers, like where wealth disparity was so bad during the Middle Ages, during the Victorian era. That's where the term ivory towers come from. Like the ruling class had to separate themselves from the peasantry, or they will murder them because they was just so openly stealing from them. Their taxes was insane during Middle Europe. That is what we're seeing in real time. That's why your point is so is landing hard on me, because that's what we see. We're seeing the modern day ivory towers compared to the leaders they demonize, like Maduro here, who's with his people. And this is a video I always share because I always like to humanize Maduro to my followers. And I love how the neocon bots always get furious when I post these videos humanizing Maduro. Can you imagine Trump doing shit like this? Can you imagine anyone or hated ruling class? I'll play this video. I love this video, by the way. You guys know I love boxing too. So here's Maduro. I think it's semi-related to what we're talking about. But look how comfortable he is among his people.
Well, we have to remember that Nicolas Maduro was a bus driver. He comes from the working class. Could you imagine a bus driver becoming president of the United States? Could you even imagine a bus driver becoming senator?
Never.
You know, the system is so rigged in the U.S. against the working class and poor people. That would be impossible. And again, the unions in the U.S. aren't supporting Venezuela. You know, again, given that this guy was a union bus driver, there's so much education that needs to be done, and that's why I really appreciate shows like this.
Yeah, and I appreciate your input. I'll play this video. I love this video because this is him like just boxing with
No, it's
random.
amazing.
I love this video. Like, bro, can you imagine Maduro box Trump and stuff?
Yeah, no, I think Trump would really, I think he wouldn't last around with this guy.
Look at Maduro floating like a butterfly.
Yeah, he looks like Muhammad Ali.
Yeah, he mentioned Cassius Clay. Look, like Cassius Clay. Look, this man is a student of the game, bro. I respect that. You guys know I'm a big fan of martial arts, so I respect it immediately. He's a man of people. So what the Sano traders and what neocon puppets will have you believe is that he hated by the Venezuelan people like Maria Corina Machado. If he was hated by the Venezuelan people, wouldn't all these militias and all these people that he armed, wouldn't they overthrow him? Wouldn't they side? Go ahead, Dan. Feel free.
Yeah, and
anytime.
they always say, I don't know if you've ever heard this. You're a little younger than me, but when I was growing up, they always used to say the first thing the communists do, they take away everyone's guns. In fact, Maduro's been handing out rifles to the people because he wants them to defend the country, right? So he doesn't fear that. He's giving them weapons. And, Cuba did that too. Fidel Castro did that, so it shows a lot, right? It shows a lot that he trusts his own people and knows that they're with him. So it's an incredible time we're living through. And many times it's a dark time, but there's some light. I think what's happening in Venezuela with the people, that is goodness. That is light. We have to stand in solidarity with that.
Absolutely. Very well said. And another gigantic blunder of United States foreign policy is that they united the continent around Maduro.
Yes.
Gustavo Petro was critical of Maduro.
Yes, very much. On. Yeah.
Yeah, so even people who was critical, and feel free to chime in anytime, Dan. This is a great conversation. But like people like Gustavo Petro, Lula da Silva in Brazil, Lula, he repeated the election lie bullshit last year. He was like, I think we need audit the Venezuelan election. He was repeating the Biden bullshit. Even now, Lula's like hands off Venezuela. Gustavo Petro calling him out as a pedophile. Feel free, Dan.
Lula da Silva from Brazil came to Santa Marta, Colombia, to the CELAC conference just to show solidarity with, Greater Colombia, which includes Colombia and Venezuela, to say that
I'm
he
glad to see that.
opposes Venezuelan intervention. And as you said, Gustavo Petro has been very critical of Maduro himself. But again, what they will not tolerate is an invasion of the United States against a brother sister country like Venezuela, right? Once again, siblings, they can argue amongst themselves, but if
Yep.
someone comes in to fight them, they're united. And like you said, that's happening. The whole Caribbean, the whole Latin America, they're united now against the United States. And I think the U.S. is in for a rude awakening. Really, this is going to be a disaster for them.
That's why Americans need to be more upset, because if you're not even on the same moral wavelength as I am, like, let's say you don't care about any of these like issues morally, strategically, how is this a good strategy for the United States and their interests to rally the population in South America against the United States and leading them closer to China? Like, are you guys just that desperate to sell arms? Because we know that Julian Assange said their goal is not successful war, it's never ending war. Just like in Ukraine, it's not about defeating Russia. It's about boosting the profits of arm dealer, which they have. Now, are you guys just that rank? Are you guys just that desperate that you're like, all right, I just want short-term profits. I don't care if we get in a losing war with Venezuela. The same way you didn't care about getting in a losing war with Afghanistan. They didn't care about getting a losing war in Ukraine. Are you guys just that rank? Are you guys just that gangster that you willing to take the United States standing on the world stage because you know you're going to die in 5 years? Your boomerang is going to die in 5 to 10 years. So you think about short-term profits. So if you're not morally, this is my point, if you're not morally convinced that it's wrong to invade countries, how is the neocon agenda even advancing the interests of the American people? It's not.
Well, it's not. It's
Go
not.
ahead,
Let's be very clear. I think you hit the nail on the head that this is about short-term profit for a handful of people to the detriment of everyone else.
Yep.
And, again, it raises so many issues, but, a lot of people are concerned about, the climate and global warming. The U.S. military creates more CO2 than any other country in the world, right? The wars that the U.S. is fighting are more destructive of the environment than anything else, right? As you say, short-term profit is being prioritized for a few over long-term benefits for the vast majority of the people. And that's why, the super rich need to be challenged. That's why, frankly, we need a revolution in this country.
Yes. Yep. And this is why capitalism will never be sustainable.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to see how their plans is not about long-term success of the society. It's about how can we create short-term win for the capitalist class. Let's just steal the oil in Venezuela. Let's steal their oil. Let's steal the oil in Afghanistan. Let's do all these short-term moves, which benefits them. Because guys, despite how disastrous the Ukraine war has been for them, Raytheon, Boeing, all these arms deals, they're making record profits. So you can mark that down as a success for them. they using Ukraine as a way to test battlefield innovation. I covered this many times. They testing new battlefield tech. They testing new drones. So it's been a win for them. Like, I know geopolitically it's been a disaster, but it's been a short-term win for the capitalist class. And to expand on my point, like, if you're one of those people like, I believe in the domination of Western society, like, why would you even support our foreign policy then? For example, we decided to put pressure on India and the global South and people in Europe who was buying Russian oil in order to wage war against Russia. The only thing they did was lead India, a country we've been working on for decades. Like, we have presidents working India forever. And just like that, because of short-term profits and short-term narrow thinking, now India is shifting toward China. Like now, Russia and China closer than ever. I don't even have to argue the morality of these kind of things. I can like just chessboard thinking. How does the neocon class? How does their moves make sense? But we're getting near to our segment. This has been an amazing segment, Dan. It's been great having you on. There are a few more things I want to quickly go over, and I'll get your final thoughts as we begin to wrap this segment up. Because the only thing that the Trump is talking about how they geopolitically failed, because the strategy that the United States has been deploying with a measure of some success and some failure is isolating Venezuela. And the level of success that like the neoliberal wing of the establishment had is getting people like Lula to question the Venezuelan elections. Though that's wins for the neocon class in the West. They lost all of that. Yeah. Now Venezuela and Maduro is now seen as a sympathetic state. Complete failure. Now you have the world rallying behind them. And I've been covering this for the last few days. I want to get your thoughts on this as we begin to wrap up here. You have Russian lawmakers sending air defense systems. I've seen a few Russian officials float the idea of sending ballistic missiles, which I don't think is going to happen, but they're floating the idea of that.
Right.
Like, so you see how people are rallying behind. I know you want to chime in. Go, feel free, Dan. Feel free to share your thoughts.
So I would end, my remarks by quoting Hugo Chavez, who I saw in 2010 in Caracas, and he made a very profound statement. He said that, many people call the 20th century the American century. He says, I don't think it was the American century. He says, I think it was the century of revolution. The Mexican Revolution, the Russian Revolution, the Chinese Revolution, the Korean Revolution, the Vietnamese Revolution, and on and on. And it was the century of anti-colonial struggle and victories against Western Europe and the United States.
That's a great point.
Yeah, and I think we're seeing the end of the colonial rule now, right? And we're seeing that in Palestine, and we're seeing that in Venezuela. But it's a struggle that needs to be won. It's not fully won yet. And we need to support that and also support the people in the United States who are colonized, right? People of color, African Americans, indigenous peoples, Latins. That it will be the liberation of the world. That's what I believe.
That's very well said. I love how you frame history there. Remember, what they called the Cold War was essentially a worldwide retaliation by the capitalist imperialist class to the revolutions that Dan is talking about. So after the Industrial Revolution, the working class has like historic wins against their managerial class like never seen before. And the Cold War was in retaliation to the rise of Marxism. But that's a conversation for another day. It's been great having you on, Dan. I want to ask you just one more thing. Okay. I have to get your thoughts on Maria Corina Machado. That'll be the last thing I get your thoughts on. I'll ask you about the Venezuela opposition, and I'll let you go after it. Because I won't play the clip for the sake of time, but essentially what she's saying, the worst mistake that they made was giving her the Peace Prize. I believe, like, you should have kept her locked away in a dungeon. Just sum it up shortly. This video, she essentially, I just have to play in the background. She's admitting that her goal is to sell off and privatize Venezuelan natural resources. So, to end this segment, I want to get your thoughts on this, Dan, and I'll let you go. Any final thoughts?
I think it was not a mistake that she was given the Nobel Prize. It was very intentional, right? It was given to her to support Trump's anti-Venezuelan policy. Yeah. And I think it totally delegitimized the Nobel Committee, right?
Absolutely.
She is an insignificant person in Venezuela, right? She's not even taken seriously there. But as you say, she is a tool of the United States. She wants Maduro violently overthrown. She has asked Israel to do that, the U.S. to do that. And as you say, so that her country can be looted. She deserves the Nobel Peace Prize as much as, I don't know what to say, Adolf Hitler. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. And I think, though, it's important and good that we see the mask of the
Yes.
West slipping, right? You know, it reminds me of this. You know, Gandhi was asked at one point by a U.S. reporter, he says, "What do you think about Western civilization?" And Gandhi said, "I think it would be a good idea." And that's probably the last words I will say tonight. It'd be a great idea.
Dan, you was amazing. It was great having you on for the first time. I think this
It's
was
my
great
pleasure.
actually
I
meeting
was
you.
very honored you reached out to me, seriously, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, we definitely have to do this again one day. Thank you for joining us, Dan Kovalik. Make sure you guys follow him on X. I think I'm gonna show you guys a few more things. I'm gonna read a few chats before we wrap up. Thank you for joining us, Dan. It was a fantastic conversation, absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Dan. I think we got super chats now. Like, you guys know we monetize on my channel now. Finally, man. Finally. I want to see what I actually still want to show you guys a few updates on the Trump Epstein story. The Trump been in panic mode. I didn't have a chance to play this video because Dan was cooking, bro. What an amazing guest. Zoya, I told you guys, Zoya be in the lab cooking, man. What a great guest Dan was. I learned a lot. I think it was fantastic. So I just showed him this video and he immediately went into it, which is fantastic. But I want to actually play this. This is a video for Gustavo. I still got a little energy. I still got a lot of time. It's Friday night. What's popping, my friends? I'm going to stay on just a little bit longer. This is Gustavo Petro calling out Donald Trump for being a pedophile. So you guys know I have to. I might even find some live tweets because this story has been amazing. I was planning on covering this a little bit in the beginning, but I kind of went a little bit long with the Japan-China segment, but I really wanted to take my time and break that down. But Trump has been in complete panic mode. I'm going to show you guys his coping tweets. I wanted to do this segment for sure, this update, because Petro not letting him live it down. Petro been calling Trump pedophile left and right. Look at that. Look at that. We get super chats now on the channel. What's popping? So we just started the channel last month, and we already starting to grow. Already starting to see the homies starting to come back. Thank you, Kat, for the super chat. Make sure you guys support me on Patreon as well. I mean, we still growing the channel, so monetization is not going to be like a big paycheck. And you don't want YouTube taking most of your support. So Patreon is probably the best way to support my labor because a lot of labor do go on the show. I'm not asking a lot from my working class audience. Only around $3 to $5 a month is all I need. The rest can go to Gaza and mutual aid and that kind of stuff. Here's Gustavo Petro calling out the clan of pedophiles. I want to watch this. I want to show you guys this. The clan of pedophiles in the USA want to destroy democracy in Colombia.
Un clan de pedófilos.
I love. You already know this is what. You already know Russian state media, Russian politicians, Iranian politicians. You know North Korea is having field day with this. Like, I wish China was more deflammatory. Like, honestly, like, China is way more chill. Like, and they are statesmen. Like, China could go way lower than they actually do, but they're very refrained in their language when they on the global stage. Like, if you ever look at their, like, they're still very diplomatic to the United States. I think too much so, but hey, I'm not a statesman or strategist like Xi Jinping, who I think is managing all of this amazingly, which is why he exposing Takaichi and his he exposing people in Japan. People like Malaysia, Indonesia, they're like, what are you guys doing? Oh yeah, I do need a new microphone. I know you guys be complaining about my audio sometimes. I'm trying to fix it. I had a mic back in the day, but that mic broke. So that's another reason to support my Patreon. If we can get some signups, if I get around 20 signups per live stream, I can get a new microphone and fix my audio a bit on here. I'm trying. You guys know I'm a working class journalist, like the old school style. Before it was captured by the capitalist class. Like back in the day, journalism used to be a working class profession. That's what I'm doing. I'm interviewing people all over the world, man. We have people from China coming back. I interview people from Moscow, UK. I have the lawyer for the president of Colombia who was just on, professors. Like, so if you guys want to help me get a new microphone, we definitely want to start fundraising for that. Oh, they played the video. I've been hyping this video for a while. I just want to show you guys this screen grab. Like, a clan of pedophiles want to destroy democracy in Colombia. I just wanted to hold that for a second. Now, let me play his remarks, because I actually want to watch a bit of this as well.
Un clan de pedófilos quiere acabar la democracia en Colombia. Duro, sí. Pero ahí está la
Harsh,
realidad.
but that's the reality. It's not even harsh. That is the reality. I'm going to bring that up to anyone who supports the Republican Party. You support the party led by the Speaker, Mike Johnson, who did everything he could to block the Epstein files? From the party that gave him sweetheart deals with Pam Bondi when she was the Attorney General in Florida? The party that pardons Jewish pedophiles? So, Pedro, that's not harsh. This is exactly the energy we need, actually. And the energy we need other world leaders. Like, not everyone has the balls of Petro, though. Let's
Pedófilos quiere acabar la democracia en Colombia. Duro, sí. Pero ahí está la realidad. Y para que no salga la lista, entonces nos envían acorazados a matar pescadores de esta ciudad. Y amenazar al vecino, que si dictador o no, ¿cómo que el pueblo de Colombia va a aplaudir que invadan a su hermano, que no es el presidente, sino el pueblo de Venezuela? ¿Cuándo?
This man been cooking Trump.
Seríamos así de traidores y de vendidos, de que nuestra propia sangre la traicionamos, o el pueblo del Ecuador, o el pueblo de Panamá, o el pueblo de Venezuela no es nuestro propio pueblo.
Yeah. Look how Trump is uniting the entire South American continent. Now you have the entire South American left that's essentially saying we are all Venezuelans. We are one people. What a massive blunder. And what a fantastic speech by Pedro here.
De Panamá o el pueblo de Venezuela no es nuestro propio pueblo. Y entonces quieren que el presidente haga lo que quería hacer Duque. Cobarde, prestar las tierras de Colombia para que desde ahí se invadiera a un país hermano que tiene la misma historia que nosotros, porque allá nació Bolívar y vino a morir aquí, en esta ciudad. No se puede. Presidente de Colombia que haga eso, presidente maldito por las generaciones futuras, porque nunca será olvidado como un traidor. Y yo no pertenezco a los que querían matar a Bolívar. El gobierno de Venezuela ha hecho muchas críticas, pero no me burlo del pueblo de Venezuela, ni construyo una trampa para que caiga el pueblo de Venezuela en la trampa de una invasión que solo va por su petróleo. Que se quiere es codicia y violencia más para hacer de esta esquina hermosa del continente suramericano una Siria, un Irak, una Libia llena de esclavos, de venta de esclavos, de nuevo negros. No, la lista de los amigos de Epstein que no quieren.
I love how this man will continue to call out Epstein. And another thing I just have to mention, because I see these idiot politicians, I see John Fetterman, there's people like Lindsey Graham, who's an outright terrorist. This man goes to church and then immediately goes around on corporate media, gives speeches, talking about bombing countries. The ones who are not talking about bombing countries are the one who, you also have people who don't know who, like where Crimea is, but they voted for war against Russia. Don't know anything. Like, the contrast between other world leaders and American politicians is unbelievable. Like, just not only just in the context of what the substance of what they're talking about, but it's clearly an intelligent gap. Like, our ruling class is really full of fucking Nepo babies. Anyway, this video is almost over.
La lista de los amigos de Epstein que no quiere que aparezca la lista en los Estados Unidos, nos quiere utilizar aquí con la violencia para que el pueblo de los Estados Unidos no piense en su propio gobierno, sino que se les suba la xenofobia, el racismo, las ideas de la raza superior y otras ideas falsas, y nos usan para no discutir sus propios problemas. Presidente de Colombia lo que ha hecho es denunciar narcotraficantes durante décadas. Y los narcotraficantes que ha denunciado siempre estuvieron en el poder político de Colombia, en el Estado.
So, what a fantastic speech. The rise of the Latin America left is what our CIA and ruling class spent untold billions of dollars to prevent from happening. And their actions against Venezuela is deeply counterproductive to their cause thus far. There was a country that just had, I know Colombia is cooked, Argentina is cooked, El Salvador is beyond cooked. There was a country in South America that their leftist leader just lost to centrists. I'm blanking on them. Damn. I want to. It's not all good in South America. Trust me, it's not all good. You got Bolivia, right there. Thank you, man. Our audience is based. Whenever I'm blanking on something, our audience definitely would know. Bolivia, I know their left wing just lost, so I want to keep it real with you guys. The effort by the West, look, everyone, look how base our audience is. The effort by the West to stop the rise of the Latin America left has been aggressive for decades, and it's still holding on to a thread. In fact, Lindsey Graham, I mentioned him earlier, he had a speech where he outright admitted that the Monroe Doctrine, he quoted the Monroe Doctrine in justification. Oh, shit, look at this. Maybe I should start using this more often. Look at this. I'm playing around with settings. Good boy, he's learning. Doesn't this look good? I don't like being this big screen. I don't like being this big though. I don't like that either. I don't know, man. What do you guys think? That's too small. I don't know. But I want to get to this. This will be the last thing I'll share because Gustavo Petro is hitting Trump hard on this. I want to do at least a small update. We do a quick update tonight. I wanted to do at least around 90 minutes tonight and read some. Chile also got important lecture. I want to read some chats as well. If you enjoy the stream, make sure you guys like, subscribe. Appreciate all the new subscribers. I was on Jimmy. I need to have Jimmy back on. Me and Jimmy, we had a fun time. We was bashing ICE. We was bashing ICE and Trump for like an hour. So that was fun. I was on Jamal Thomas show, I think. Sorry, Jamal Thomas. I was on his live stream earlier. He's killing it. He's blowing up. I was on Pasta and Matt's show. I didn't have a homeless sled back on. Pasta is fantastic. I love Matt too. Been a lot going on recently. Been a lot going on for us. So if you're one of the new subscribers, watching them for the first time, I hope you're enjoying the show, man. Hope you're enjoying the show. What's popping? This is gonna be our last show of the weekend. I want to show you guys a few of those interviews I did too. So I might cut some clips. I've been playing around with some editing software. So we see. You guys know I'm always in the lab cooking. Here's Donald Trump. Like, we actually got a lot of people on other platforms watching us. Like, we're doing really well for a new channel. I think we are. We got people on. I think this is Kick. It is Kick. Like we got people on Kick. I see Rumble accounts. You know, we got around 900 people watching us on platform, so we're struggling along. You know what I mean? The algorithm is not amazing to us, but if I can radicalize even a small number of people, if I can keep a small community of people informed and intellectual, I think I'm doing my job. You know what I mean? I don't need to be some giant influencer. But I don't even like using the big screen right here because, you know, I'm not like trying to be like a sex symbol or anything. Like that made me uncomfortable. I feel like I'm too close. All right, let me show you guys Trump's meltdown because this has been horrible PR for him. And watching Democrat media and watching liberals cover this story has been mind-numbing because they've been making this just about Donald Trump. But I think this has been very damning for the entire capitalist class as a whole. I think that's why, and I think the Israel-Mossad connection between Epstein is why Donald Trump is willing to destroy his brand. They're willing to do permanent party damage to prevent the revelation of the institutional support that Epstein had. And now these new emails are mind-blowing because it shows exactly how much Donald Trump knew. He had a relationship with Epstein. Even when he was president, he lied about it, fam. Yeah, Jamal, he's the man. That was a great conversation. Appreciate you, fam. Yeah, Jamal, he's doing a great job. His channel's really taking off. I'm trying to get on Jamal's level. You know what I mean? I'm trying to get on his level. So if you're new, we got a lot of new viewers tonight because I've been all over the place the last week. I did like 4 different shows this week. So make sure you subscribe. I see some OGs in the house, like Cam. He's an OG. I mean, if you know what Fred Hampton Leftist is, you really an OG. You know what I mean? Casey, she's an OG. What's poppin', Casey? At least start talking to the chat a little bit more. Appreciate you guys. They're too close, bro. Now, I don't know. I don't feel comfortable with my face being that big on the screen. All right, let me get back to it. I appreciate you guys. Now the Democrats are using the Epstein hoax. Like, bro, how cooked are you? How didn't you guys just gave binders? Remember the political theater where they was giving binders to a bunch of influencers? So is it fake or not? How is it a hoax when you guys was just giving binders? So the only thing, Donald Trump, you are so cooked, you don't even realize the only thing that you can say is that you can downplay it. You can try to clear your name. You can try to hide the Israeli connection. But what doesn't make sense is you calling it a hoax when we know for a damn fact it's real. We know he's a real person who have real victims. You're so panicked. You calling it a hoax? What's by my Fred Hampton Leftist brother? We're gonna do another event with the Hampton family soon. I was up there this summer, by the way. We're still living up to the ideals of what it means to be a Fred Hampton leftist. Don't get it twisted. We just wanted to carve our own identity, but at the end of the day, we still, and I will always be a Fred Hampton leftist. That's the revolutionary tradition I come from. That's why it was great to actually meet and be around and organize with them. You know what I mean? Yeah, Jamal. I love doing those guest spots, man. Jamal, his show was pretty chill and relaxing. Jamal, he runs a good show. So here, Trump calling it a hoax. He says a Democrat hoax involving Democrats, not Republicans. Come on, man. Come on. To try and he's not even being persuasive that this is a pure this is pure amateur behavior. This is why MAGA is turning against Trump. Like, he's having Republican defections. He's calling Marjorie Taylor Greene. He's calling Lauren Boebert. He's having situation rooms trying to figure out how he's going to stop the release of the Epstein files. And it's reported that there's around 100 Republicans that plan to defy Donald Trump. You want to know why? Because Donald Trump's going to be out of power in 2028, fam. A lot of these Republicans, you got to run. You got an election to win in 2028. Your career is going to outlive Donald Trump, and a lot of these Republicans are starting to realize that. So it's reported that you have over 100 Republicans that's going to join the Democratic Party to release these files. That's why he's panicking like this. And the Republicans who vote to block the Epstein files, bro, they are cooked the way we've never seen before. Like, bro, you have suburbanites asking about Epstein, bro. It's over. Usually the people who are unserious, like, you guys know my opinion about MAGA. They are unserious. Many of these American First people are unserious. The most unserious people in politics are finally paying attention to a serious story because they're hooked on the Epstein thing. It's a brilliant combination of extremely important but also extremely captivating. Usually people are hooked on extremely captivating political theater, but unfortunately it has no substance. The Epstein story is just perfect because it's both. It's extremely important and it's also captivating enough to reach the masses, which is why Democrats try their best to keep this genie in the bottle. That's why they didn't release the Epstein files. They tried not to talk about it when they was in power. Now it's so overwhelming. It's so overwhelming. The demand for truth on this for good reason. I think this is one of the most important domestic political stories of my lifetime. A gigantic international sex ring that combined British royalty with the American capitalist class that also involved a spy. You had the former Israeli prime minister who stayed with Jeffrey Epstein for 3 years. This is a gigantic story. And it's also mainstream as hell. How rare is that? Like, this is one of the rare W stories that we got to take, man. And it fired up everyone on the left and right. One thing that's annoying about Democrats when they cover this, because you guys know I watched them. I see what these idiots be saying. Like MSNBC, they're like, man, Donald Trump, he's being bitten in the ass. This is what they said. They said Donald Trump, the far right engaged in Jeffrey Epstein MAGA conspiracy theories. That's not true. This has been an issue that galvanized everybody. You guys know that there was polls that showed, I showed a poll weeks ago that showed that more Democrats, a larger percentage of Democrats are concerned about the Epstein story actually than Republicans. I gotta dig that up because it was a while ago since I covered that. But polls show that Democratic voters like, we want to know what's going on with Hillary Clinton and Epstein too. It's only our ruling class that's uniquely depraved. Guys, even the shit libs are down for this story, man. It's wild. And what does it say about the Biden Zionist ruling class? Because the only people, because I will say this, the only people who try to suppress this story and downplay this story are Zionists, are Jewish supremacists. They're always the ones who never so happen to mention the story. The weak, pathetic, progressive left is another one. Like, how often do you see Bernie Sanders, AOC, Zohran Mamdani, Nina Turner, all these people bring up Epstein? Like, it was something they never really talked about. They're like, oh, we don't want to talk about conspiracies. What are you talking about? So now, like, good for them. They're all for it now. Because it would be political malpractice if they wasn't talking about Epstein, considering how high it is. Now we have this. I think I'll wrap up the stream with this because this is hilarious. Hilarious. This is the bombshell that dropped today. I mean, absolute bombshell I mean, Bubba, I wonder where it's trending now. Bubba was literally trending like number 3 because of this. Look, look. It's still number 3. Like, trending number 3. Jesus Christ. Because apparently Donald Trump is the fucking throat goat. In an email from March 2018, Jeffrey Epstein's brother, Mark, suggested asking Steve Bannon if Putin possessed the photo of Trump blowing Bubba. What? And Bubba is a nickname that Epstein uses for Bill Clinton. Bro, what? Do we actually have our first gay president? This boy Donald Trump is a throat goat. Please, I don't want to see that. Please keep those videos and photos deeply classified. We don't need to see it. I know our capitalist class is depraved. I don't need to see this, man. So, fam, this shit, I think I see it. Look, this shit is trending number 3. That's why I had to bring this up tonight. I'm working a long stream tonight for you guys because I had to show you. And I'm showing you guys the live. Look, Bubba is trending number 3. Everyone was like, bro, this man Trump is giving that top, son. Bro, our ruling class are complete freaks. They are. This is why I mentioned with Hillary Clinton when it was supposed that Hillary Clinton was sleeping around. Bro, not only are these people pedophiles, they are extremely messy. They are extremely messy. So let's see. What does anyone say about Bubba? Because this is the trending number 3. Oh my God, dude. Bubba Trump. I'm dead. I'm murdered. This killed me. I'm dead. It's over. This is what Trump is talking about when he was drinking smart. I'm a ghost. I'm not real. I'm murdered. Bro, the timeline is going ham. Guys, chill. Bro, chill. What is this? Okay, bro. All right, bro. Y'all gotta chill. What is this? All right, bro. We need industry. What is going on here? What is going on, bro? Bro, the timeline is going even wilder than I imagined. This man is the throat goat, bro. What is going on, bro? I don't know if that's even a real tweet, man. This is crazy. All right, this is one hell of a way to end the stream. Because I can't, there's no way I can continue serious political. This is me. Bro, I'm dead. I'm murdered. I'm murdered right now. I actually can't stop looking at these. This is so fucking, this is so hilarious. I was preparing for my shows. Come on, man. Come on. I'm done. We hit it with Shawn Michaels. We hit it. Bro, I'm about to fucking cry. All right, I'm done. Have a good weekend, y'all. Make sure you guys support me on Patreon.